Alright, this is Lewis Fulterer, student number 3466, Godalming College Computer Science. This is my NEA testing video, which is a chess application including an AI and a functioning game of chess and multiple other different settings and modifications that you can do. So we start off by opening up to the main menu. When I click around, absolutely nothing happens. There are no outputs to console. There is no bugs from clicking around the menu. When you click on one of the buttons, it takes you to the menu. As you can see, I click the settings here. It takes me to the settings. I click online game. It takes me to the game. Offline game. When I go on settings, I have selectors and text entries. So the text entries allow me to just click on them and type in to set values. As you can see, all of these, if I'm pressing my keys now, I'm not sure if, I think it's picking up on the mic. I'm pressing my keys, nothing happens. I have to click on one, and as you can see, the little highlight appears, highlight disappears, allowing me to type on it. And this one is set to only numbers. If I try and type a letter, as you can see here, nothing goes in. If I type a number though, like 7, it can go in there, and that works just fine. All of these selectors work with both sides. So as you can see, we've got from default, green, blue, red, back to default, red, blue, green, back to default. Going both ways, that works absolutely fine. That's the same with all of these, all of these, all of these, down here. So the game works with different textures. As you can see in my images folder, I've got my default images in here, and all you'd need to do to install some more is drag the image files into any folders you wanted to create here. I don't have enough images for that, but for testing purposes, I can create some in a moment. So we've got in the default directory, we've got all of those images, which all the pawns from both sides, knights, bishops, rooks, queens, and kings. Next, we've got sound effects. Again, you just need the files. You can put them in, and it would work fine. You can record whatever sounds you wanted. If you wanted some weird, wacky, or arcade noises, you can just put them in like a different texture pack and select which ones you want. The game style allows you to select the starting board position. So as you can see here, I've got a testing one where there's just a couple of random pieces around, and I've got the default one, which is the standard chess starting position. And then we have the white selection, so the white player can either be a human or some of the AIs I've put in. So I've put in 3 that I've made, which are Alia and the 2 Enoch named AIs, and then I've downloaded two from the internet, which are world-class AIs, because the program allows you to import and use other people's UCI chess engines as well. So I can start off with just human, and the same is for black, the same options. And if you want to install more, that's incredibly easy to do. For the time, I'm going to put in loads of time for both sides, and as you can see, I'll put in the increment for something very obvious as well. And the engine depth doesn't matter because they're both humans at the moment. If I click apply and I go back, all the settings are saved. You can see it's still 6,000, 6,200. No settings are changed when you come out of the menu. They're all perfectly saved. So what have we got next? Yep. So as we come out of the settings, as you can see, we're just very smoothly brought back into the main menu. There's no delay, no artifacts left on the screen. That works all perfectly fine. When we click the play offline button, all the settings are loaded in. So we've got humans playing white and black. We both started with 6,000 seconds. And if I abort and I change the settings over to greens, for example, we get this not very flattering look of the board. This works for every single color. The blues, this one's quite nice. And finally the reds. I don't like this one very much, far too bright for me. The default one's my favorite. And all of these work. If I go over to the test board, for example, as you can see, you get the weird one that I was using for testing. Go back to default. If I change this to Enoch 1 and 2, as you can see, Enoch 1 and 2, they played against each other just then. I'll do that with a slightly slower one so you can see. So I can set in, and as you can see on the right, we've got fire versus stockfish, which is what we put in on the settings, and I can abort the game just like that. So if I put it back to human, there we go. Okay. All right. So when we click on any individual piece, it deselects anything we previously had selected and shows us which piece we've got selected and the moves that it can make. If I click anywhere else, it just unselects the piece and it doesn't go there. Nothing happens. But these light blue squares are valid moves for the piece. Same with black. When it's black's move, I cannot click any white pieces. Nothing happens. But all of these valid moves, the chess moves of which you'd expect. Pawns can move 2 on their first go, but after that they can only move 1. Pawns can't take straight on, but they can take diagonally, as you can see. And you can take any piece. You can also click the undo move button, and it replaces any captured pieces and also keeps it to the same player's turn. Checks will work fine. I can here check the king with this queen, and it can't, you know, the only moves that are available are ones that get the kings out of check. I can't move any other piece anywhere. I can't move this king forward. I can move the king to the side though. If I were to then move this to here, the king still wouldn't be able to go to this square because of this pawn. Pawns take diagonally, so this square is not available for the king. The king can only move back. If I reset the board real quick, we can see that special moves like en passant work absolutely fine. If a pawn moves 2 times next to a pawn here, we should be able to capture this. This is called the en passant rule. As you can see there, that piece disappears. Undoing works perfectly fine. It gets returned to its normal place. That is just a regular chess move. We've also got castling, which is another special move in chess, and that allows the player to move their king and castle at the same time, as long as there is nothing blocking them. So as you can see there, there we go, there we go. And if I undo these 2 moves and make it so the black king will be in check. As you can see here, the queen is covering this spot, which means the king can't castle. Usually this would be an available square. If I undo twice, this is an available square. The king can castle because there is nothing attacking it. But when there is anything blocking the square, it can no longer castle. The king can also no longer castle if it's already moved. As you can see, there is no castling rights, even though there's actually the queen is still blocking it. Hang on. There we go. The king still cannot castle, even with nothing blocking it. And that'll be the same with this side. King cannot castle. The other special move would be promotions. So when a pawn reaches the end of the board, it should be able to promote to a queen. As you can see there, the pawn reached the end of the board and it became a queen after taking the rook. And that works with the undo moves as well. It turns back into a pawn when you undo it. And this piece here behaves exactly like you would expect a queen to. Could be taken and captured and moved exactly as you'd expect. Okay, and the game will end after stalemate, checkmate, insufficient material, or 3-move repetition. As you can see here, I'm setting up the classic scholar's mate. I move the queen in, it's checkmate. The king can't go anywhere, it can't move forward, there's nothing that can block its path, and it can't take the queen because of the bishop that was over here. And as you can see, this pop-up comes up, and when I click OK, it takes me back to the menu, working just as normal. Stalemate. I'll do 3-move repetition first. So if I bring the kings, there you go. You can see it's a draw by repetition because we made the same move 3 times in a row, or we reached the same position 3 times in a row. That's that. Insufficient material is also an easier one to test. Let me go to the test game. How will I do this? If I quickly capture these pawns. As you can see here, it's a draw by insufficient material. A king can never take a king because they will never be able to attack each other. So that's that. For a stalemate, I'm not entirely sure how to set up a stalemate. I guess I can try and I'll set up a custom board so I can show you how that works. That's a two tests in one, I guess. So if I create a new stalemate.json, and we can just copy in the basic format of that. So this is just an 8x8 2D array. 0 represents a blank square, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 12 represents the pieces. So I'm now thinking should be able to just that's fine. Yeah, check. So white is the odd numbers. So we go over to stalemate. If I try and stalemate the black king, if I go 12, 12, and we have the white queen here, and we just put the white king so the game doesn't end. I'm not sure if hopefully this works first try. I'll need to add that to the menu as well. So when you want to add a new feature, you go up to the menus. So I can go stalemate, stalemate, and simply just by typing it in there, it should let me just access it in the settings menu. So we've got game style, yep, stalemate. So apply. There we go. That's 2 kings. I did not mean to do that. Yeah, I did not mean to do that. There we go. That's what I meant to do. Here we go. So this should just, yeah, it's a draw by stalemate. Thankfully I managed to do that. Okay, so that means basically the king is not in check, but it can't move anywhere. The black pawn can't go anywhere because it'd be trying to go down. It can't do anything. So it ends in a stalemate. Yeah. That's that. Okay, right, now onto the engines. So if I select one of the world-class ones, let's say Stockfish, when we go in, we've already seen that when I click play offline, actually, let me set the default board again. Default, here we go. So when I click play offline, it's human, which is the white person, which is what we selected here. White, human, black, Stockfish. There we go. So when I make a move, it's just loaded in, and that just works. I can make a move and it responds very quickly, as you can see. So this is one of the world-class ones. I'm obviously expecting it to play near perfectly. This does not need testing. This is not my creation, but the fact that it works perfectly, as you can see here, I can try and just make a move. Shows that it's not just random moving. This is actually loaded in of the world-class AI Stockfish. As you can see here, the evaluation is also working. So this was a score that I pointed out in the game file, or I can go through that later, but this score is what Stockfish is currently evaluating the game. The lower the number, the better black is doing, the higher the better white is doing. So as you can see, I'm losing very, very badly here. So there you go, checkmate. Stockfish checkmated me. That is working perfectly. Onto an AI that I have made. We'll go on low depth, so I don't have to wait for ages. So the first test I've done is the AI takes pieces if it is beneficial. So it won't always be beneficial to take a piece. You wouldn't want to take a piece. You wouldn't want to take a pawn with your queen if it's defended. That'd be stupid. But if I give it my queen here, as you can see, it will just take my queen. And this is there was 7,000 nodes evaluated in 0.9 seconds. I mean, yeah, that was a pretty easy move. And as you can see, when its piece was threatened, it moved it out the way. I just double clicked undo move. Sorry about that. There we go. When it brings this pawn, so we were here. When I attack, the knight goes back. There we go. So next, the AI avoids checkmate. All right, let's set up another custom. Let's call it custom this time. Another custom scenario. So I will create a checkmate threat. We go through. So this is the default scenario. I'm gonna push this pawn. Push here. Push the queen out. And the bishop. There we go. So this is immediately a checkmate threat. I'm going to move the queen back because it'll be white to move on start. Here we go. This should be everything if I've set it up correctly. So we can go, I need to change it to custom. Go into the menu again and I can go custom because that's what I named the board. Very, very easy to load in new board states. Settings, custom, there we go. Here we go, yeah, perfect. So if I move my queen here, this would be a checkmate threat. Moving the queen up would guard the would be guarded by the bishop, and it would be checkmate. And it's moved the knight so that I can no longer do this. If I try and move my queen up, it's just going to get taken by the pawn or the queen, right? Because it's getting blocked. If I just do the bishop, there's no checkmate threat. It can be taken by the king, but it will avoid checkmate here, as you can see. Does that perfectly. Okay, I've got my next test. So the AI should promote to a pawn instead of taking a free knight. The AI sees a knight as worth 3 points and a queen is worth 9 points, so it should always promote instead of capturing. So I'm just going to go and back into my custom board again, and we're going to go grab a pretty much blank one, and I'll say we'll put a black pawn there, so that is about to promote, and we'll put a black pawn there and a white knight there, and we'll just put the kings off to the side. Okay, so and I'll need a pawn because it'll be white to move. So when I start the game, we should see that, what did I name it? Oh, I put it over here. No, I didn't. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Right, there we go. Make sure I save it this time. Put it in, custom. Here we go. No, what the f... Where did it go? I swear I just made that board. Clearly I can't save things. Alright, one more try. Ha ha ha. Alright, so on this custom board, I'm going to put a pawn for the black ready to promote. I'm going to put a pawn that's ready to take a black knight. I will put the kings off to the side, and I will place a white pawn because it will be white to move. That's custom saved. Here we go, custom. Alright, cool. So, as you can see here, this black pawn here is ready to take this white knight here. But also this black pawn is ready to promote. So when I move this pawn, it should promote instead of taking this knight. As you can see there we go. Very simple. Super easy. It just sees this is worth 9 points. This is only worth 3. It's going to take that. Okay, next thing I've got is the AI makes optimal move no matter which color it is playing as. So if I set the AIs both to be the same color, these are all different versions of the same. Where is it? These are all different versions of the same algorithm. Enoch 2 is my most up-to-date one. let me set back to the default board. Okay. Oh, default board. Oh, I overwrit the default board. Okay. I think I have it saved in my downloads actually from when I do. Ah, thank you. Boards, default. There we go. No, don't want to do that. Let me copy it in. Okay. Right, so now when I load it up on the default board with both of the eyes against each other on depth 2 each, we can see that they both start making semi-optimal moves. They're moving their pieces towards the center, developing the pieces instead of just making random moves. No side is giving away any pieces. They're both certainly not playing perfectly, but no one's playing terribly. This seems like a relatively normal game of chess. I'll just let it play out and we can see how it goes. Trading off pieces. Can castle, it can do all the special moves perfectly fine. Attacks the queen, it should defend in somehow by taking the pawn, for example, in here. It'll take that pawn again, I presume. Yep. And, well, yeah, it's working on both sides. Neither side is just giving away all its pieces. And that's absolutely fine. Oh yeah, the time as well. I haven't covered that. So the time, my clock's running, this clock is not running. I make a move, this clock runs, and as you can see, it added 200 seconds once I'm in a move. So we've got 5,990, goes up to 6,000, well, just under 6,200. That's because of the 200-second increment. If I set it to, for example, only 5 seconds, that works perfectly. It goes just above 6,000, just above 6,000, and I can, if I move fast enough, I can keep the clock above 6,000, and that's the increment working just fine. I need to show losing by timeout. So if I just give white 3 seconds, you can see time runs out and black wins, and it says who's won, gives you the OK button, and you can stop. Okay, and my next test is the fact that the application can be closed. There we go. That works absolutely fine. And finally, we are going to do some testing. In the console, I'm just going to print the evaluations for each position, and you can see that it's nicely fit and nothing is predetermined. Any moves can be made, it'll be able to evaluate it using the Negamax algorithm. Where am I? Here we go. So this is the Negamax code right here. If I go for a get move, we can print the max score along with it. So I can go max score and print out the max score. And that should just be all that's needed. If I put a human against E02 now, I make a move, it responds, and as you can see here, so total evaluated nodes 7,845, time taken 1 second, 7,860 positioned evaluated per second, and the best score, which was this move, I've just lost from the 3 seconds, which is this one, and you can see 0.1414, these are the same values here. This value is divided by 100 because valuing one pawn as 1 point is easier for a human to understand in my opinion, but it doesn't really matter. The same number. That's the evaluation. If I give everything more time, you'll be able to see that the evaluation matches the ones shown on the screen. There we go. That's that. And if I create a big imbalance of pieces, the evaluation will start off incredibly askew. So if I give if I give black lots and lots of queens, and it can play in non-default positions as well. Doesn't matter the board position. It should be able to run it fine. I'll restart the program. Go into custom, and what did I put it into? What keeps happening with this? All right, custom. Load in loads of queens. Go to the main, custom. There we go. So black has lots of queens, and we can see that it starts with a significant disadvantage, and it's playing differently as well. It's trying to get its pawns forward so that the queens can come out. So this queen isn't being pushed so that it doesn't trade off. But eventually now it's getting all the queens out and available. These pawns are really just honestly a disadvantage to black, so it's just going to try and get them out and get rid of them. So that these queens can eventually come into play. This will also start to slow down because with lots of queens, there's way more valid moves that it has to calculate. So you can see here, instead of around the 10,000 mark, it's sort of between 11, 18, 20,000 positions now that the queens are all exposed. And it's obviously going to try and not to lose them. As you can see, the queens are being attacked here, so they're starting to move out of the way. They function like normal queens. You could have a board of entire queens, and it works just fine with the AIs. And this also works with the AIs I've imported, for example. So if I put this against two of the world-class AIs, I have to give them higher depth because otherwise they're just too fast to see. You can see here both sides are playing completely differently. Really using all those queens. And that's the game done. So that was a very predictable win. I mean, they started with 5 times the amount of queens. And that's my final test, I believe. Just re-going over everything. All of these selectors work. Text entries, all good. Program closes fine. This is the code for the game. As you can see, all the messages reflect what was given in the thing. In the program, we have black wins by timeout, black wins by timeout, white wins. Timeout is the title of the pop-up. We have game over, game aborted. That's what we've seen on the pop-up. This is deciding the GUI for the actual chess game. We've got loading all the engines depending on the options. This is where we're sorting out all the settings. Converting 2D arrays to FEN strings. Really everything. And the saving games, which is something that's not shown in the GUI. Once a game is finished, so if it's aborted, checkmate, stalemate, once a game ends, it gets compiled at the bottom, just here, and then using Pickle, it gets saved into this folder. As you can see here, they are stored as an object using Pickle. So if you wanted to reload them with a different program, you could make one for analysis, for example. You make a new program, these games are saved, and they'd be reloadable with all the same move log, any moves that were undone, how they won. For example, you can see right here, wins by checkmate. You can see the move stack, the move from square. If it was a promotion, you can see very long list for the move log. And that's the whole game saved. There's tons and tons of them as I've been testing, and they're all very similar in format. Each different game gets saved as soon as it's finished. This is the config, so this is the JSON file that has the settings that we saved. As you can see, I've got greens and 8-bit as the first 2 options. If I load in the menu settings, greens and 8-bit, I can change those to blues and crazy. Close this down, open this up again, blues and crazy. It changes perfectly. I think that's all my tests done. Yeah.